Hello and welcome to a bonus episode of Not to Talk About. And today we're with Modou, Alassana Jatta's agent. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay, mate. Thanks for having me, Tom. Pretty much very appreciated, and thanks as well to Renix. Pleasure
Thank you.
to
No
be
worries.
on board here with you guys.
Yeah, I'll bring him in. Are you excited to have our first guest, mate?
Buzzing, buzzing. To be honest, mate, it's obviously a very good guess. I think everyone knows that Ajatta's probably one of our most important players right now. So this episode makes perfect sense, and I'm happy to get it done.
Yeah, I guess that leads into our first question of obviously for Notts fans, the move came out of nowhere, but obviously as his agent, you would have been involved every step of the way. So when did you first hear about Notts County being interested in Jatta?
Actually, I tell you what, the interest from Nuts actually came late. It was after we had already agreed personal terms with the Norwegian club, and out of the blue, the sports director of Viborg actually phoned me up to say, listen, will Alassana be interested in the move to England? I'm like, England? Where in England? It was like to Notts County. I'm like, Notts County? Then I started to ask him, basic questions. But of course, he's never played for the national team, even though several instances he's been called up, but never for once featured. How will it be possible for him to move to England from Denmark? Knowing fully well the GBE rules and everything. He was like, listen, I have no idea. The club reached out to say they are interested, so I'll put you in contact with the CEO, and then you take it up from there. I'm like, okay, cool. So Mr. Joe actually reached out, Joe Palmer, very good guy. He's been he like since from the start he was always professional, and he was like, listen, with regards to football matters and everything, I'll introduce you to Richard Montego. He's our head of recruitment, and then you pick it up from there. So that's where everything started. Initially, when the first point of contact was made, things went a little bit slow. And then yeah, it actually just picked up. When I got the call, I actually phoned up Alassana. He was actually at training. I was like, listen, there's a possible interest, for you to go to England. He was like, England. I was like, yeah. So he asked, and I gave him the details, and I told him it's not County. They play in League Two. Um, Basically just gave him a rundown of the league and the club and everything based on the research I was able to make. And he sounded interested and he was happy with it. So he was like, listen, if you can make it happen, then fine. I'm like, yeah, but we've already agreed with the other club. The personal terms, they've already sent the contract. It was only for you to sign. And then they were actually ready to buy a flight ticket for you to come to Norway, the following day. He was like, listen, just speak to Knots, try to find an agreement, with them. If they can agree personal terms and everything, then I'm ready to go. So that's how everything basically happened, more or less.
Yeah, although the interest sounds like it was late, did it almost? It sounds like it almost felt like he was very much wanted. Was that mutually felt between you both?
Yeah, 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 of course. Like to be really honest, like the thing is, anybody, like any player who is garnering interest from a club in England, it doesn't matter the level. You always will wanna go and play in England just to experience the fan culture, just to experience the atmosphere, the league and everything like this. So for him, it was basically, being a fan of English football, because in Gambia everyone literally watches the English Premier League. It doesn't matter whichever team, and you'll be surprised. A lot of clubs have actually very huge following in like in Gambia. You'll be surprised in Gambia. I've actually seen a North County shirt before. This was like 3 years ago, and there's a lot of people supporting Derby County. Like you name it, Bolton, Sunderland, and so on and so forth. So generally speaking, with regards to England, like I said, it is every player's dream to actually play in England. It doesn't matter the level. But then for Alassane, it was more basically that, listen, okay, I know moving to Norway, I can actually go and play and do very well because the club that was interested actually sold their striker to Olympique Marseille in France. So he was more a like for like replacement. And like I said, everything was literally done and dusted. It was only for him to put pen on paper. The coach spoke to him, the sporting director, everyone, like literally. But he was like, listen, I just want to go and experience football in England. And, I'm just going to start up from there. hopefully I go and become a success, and then who knows, I can move up the ladder, and possibly achieve my dreams of playing in the English Premier League, more or less. So basically, not it's what I would say the first step actually for him.
What have you thought of the English football culture? Obviously, I'm sure you've watched the videos of Alassana playing, and do you know what he makes of it? Obviously, at Meadow Lane, he scored his first goal very recently, and he's in front of over 10,000 fans. Is that something that was really a big attraction? Playing in front of thousands and thousands of people.
No, of course it is. It is. Again, like I said, playing in front of 10,000 people, it's every Gambian player's dream or every African player's dream, more or less. With all due respect, like the Finnish league, again, like I said, I see a lot of like people writing like a lot of things that they don't know about, with regards to the Finnish league. I'm talking about people in England, more or less, and I don't blame them, to be honest. It's the same as well for people in Denmark, that write about the English league too. I don't think people seem to know the like the two different aspects, like of both leagues or both countries, But basically for him, like in Denmark, he was of course playing in front of more than 10,000, because when Viborg goes out and play against Brøndby, the stadium is full to capacity, like 20,000. If they play FC Copenhagen, it's like 30,000 or 26,000 or whatever, you name it. If they go to Midtjylland, it's like 9,000 or so, something like that. But of course, like I said, the fan culture in England, it's something that you cannot get anywhere, as a football player, and that's why people die to come to play to England, like to come and play in England. People literally dream of coming to play in England. You can see Newcastle sign a kid, from the Danish league, Jakob Minte. Of course, he isn't eligible now to actually play in the Prem. That's why he's been loaned to Feyenoord. But you will see his dreams and ambition has always been to play in the Prem. And again, like I said, of course, you have the top five clubs or the big six as they are always called, But even it doesn't matter. Even if you're playing for a relegation threatened team, going down to the championship or starting from the championship going to the Premier League, or starting from League Two, going up to League One Championship, and then eventually to the Premier League. You always want to go to England. You always want to go there and just play. And Alassana, this is more like a dream come true.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Obviously, once he'd signed, he was still training at Viborg, I believe, until obviously the visa, everything was accepted. What was that period like for him? Because obviously, if any sort of wrong turn was made in that process, I guess the whole move would have been cancelled full stop, I suppose.
I tell you what, if the move was gonna break down, it was actually gonna come from me. Because I remember on deadline day, actually, in in England, I was actually on the road. On the road, as in I was actually living in Gambia, and then I traveled to another country, more or less. So of course, naturally, Alassana is someone who, to be honest, he's a top lad. Since we started to work together, since in Gambia, he's never done anything, without my green light or permission. So I remember both Richard and Joe tried to reach out to me, and they couldn't get me. The Viborg sporting director as well, like was also trying to reach out to me, and he couldn't get me. And they were trying to tell Alassana, that's actually Viborg, trying to tell Alassana that, listen, you should sign the papers. But the boy said, listen, I'm going to wait for my agent. And when he gave me the green light, he was, even though, it was something that he wanted, but just to show you how respectful and how a top, like a top lad he is, more or less. So I don't want to say that I didn't want the move. Of course, I wanted it. And again, for me, it's the best decision that has been made, but it was something that I wish, we could have, it was a deal that I wish we could have actually done it, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago before the window closed, as opposed to him having to move on deadline day. But if you follow Alassana's career trajectory, you always see that he always likes moving on deadline day, because even when he was leaving Paidel in America in Estonia, going to Viborg, it was also on deadline day. So his moves are always special. And again, like I said, the move to North County, I think it's a move that actually I would say it's a match, between the two parties. Alassana has settled in well, surprisingly enough, because again, like I always say, players sometimes when they move to clubs, sometimes they need that 6 months adaptation period, particularly if they're moving to a new country. But with him, It's just just coming down to a team that okay, he's played his first game. Technically, like I said, he's actually improved a lot. Coming his first game, um, garner the praise of the fans, and then okay, working hard slowly. It was actually difficult because he was actually just training on his own and then making sure that he wasn't injured. And this was actually not something that Notts County told Viborg to, but it was more something that Viborg asked, whether he could train alone. They were providing with all, like they'll provide him with anything that's needed. They'll provide him with the coaching staff and everything. And then Notts were going to send a training program he was going to follow. But they just didn't want him to get injured. And then obviously it was something that could jeopardize the move. And yeah, here we are today.
Did you ever feel, you mentioned there a little bit, like a build on what KC said about the worry and a bit of concern, and you mentioned as well that you had other teams lined up. I know there was obviously other offers. So was there ever a worry, like you say, that this move, I know it's England and coming to Notts and it's all very exciting, but as his agent, did you ever have any worry that maybe it was the wrong decision, because obviously there's a lot of risk involved with the visa
No. Again, like I said, I didn't actually know about the new GB rules, but Richard actually told me that there were actually 4 categories or 4 different points, and one of them is what makes Alassana eligible, and that's because Alassana actually played in the UEFA Europa League like he played in the UEFA Conference League qualifying match, and that was against West Ham United. And before then, it was a team against B71 from the Faroe Islands, I think. So on the side of him getting a work permit, I knew outright he was going to get it. But of course, now, like I actually told him when we spoke, you're taking a very big risk, because it's 2 things. You can actually go to England and I hope not, fail, more or less, because it's a total different ball game and everything. But again, as well, you can go to England and be successful, and then who knows? Then the sky's the limit, like for you. And like I said, thankfully enough, it's a decision that I didn't like. I will not say I regretted. It's a decision that he will not say he regretted. Okay, I forget about the goals and his success now, But I always knew that okay, he will need time to actually settle down. And I didn't, like I told him, I'm not seeing you go in and be a permanent starter. I'm not seeing you go in now and be a leader in the team, because obviously, like fair play to Macaulay Langstaff, he's the top scorer of the league, and naturally you wouldn't expect any striker or any player to actually put him on the bench. It doesn't matter if he's scoring this game, not scoring that game, but the top scorer is the top scorer. He needs to play no matter what. You understand what I mean? So for me, even right now at this present stage, Alassana's move to North Carolina is still for him is like a work in progress. He's still trying to integrate into the team. He's still trying to integrate into the city. He's still trying to integrate himself into the English game, more or less. So I can see you, like the North Carolina fans are very delighted and everyone is happy and everything. But yeah, I would just say enjoy every moment of him, and hopefully come next season, that's when you will see the proper Alassana.
Yeah, look, you mentioned there that you was obviously worried about him obviously moving and being a failure, and if anything is to go by right now, he's clearly not going to be that. So every time he scores, I'd imagine it's almost sort of a big sigh of relief for you, because obviously as an agent of his, you worry about obviously if a move's right for a player, but obviously to score 5 goals as quick as he has in a new country, new culture, it's never easy, but he's kind of took the league by storm right now.
Yeah, like listen, most of the pressure doesn't actually come from the club. Most of the pressure comes from the fans. And when I say fans, it's not generally the North County fans, it's just football fans in general. Because as a striker, when the club signs you, what you're expected to do, all right, is to actually bang in the goals. And if you're not scoring the goals, then it's a very big problem. Then they start to write, he's a shit, sorry for, like he's a bad striker, he's this, he's useless, he's that. I even saw, like some of the North Carolina fans writing, how can not sign a striker who, like who cannot score headers, more or less. So, like these are things like when I read it, I'm actually I'm actually someone that is very happy reading those kind of stuff, because then you can tell the player that, listen, this is the view of certain people of you. So in order for you to actually keep their mouth shut, make sure you prove them wrong. And how you can prove them wrong is actually making sure you perform on the pitch, making sure you score goals they don't expect that you were gonna score, more or less. And like the Nuts coach, Stuart Maynard said in his last post-match, press conference, that like the first header that Alassana missed was actually the simplest ones, which is actually true, because I make sure I watch all the games of Alassana. And this is not because he went to Nuts, but since when he was in Estonia, every game, unless I am traveling or it's a family commitment, I make sure I watch all the matches. So when the first header, like when he missed it, I was like, oh, then I went on Twitter, I saw, people writing like opposing fans, oh, not sign a shit striker and blah, blah, blah. He cannot even head the ball into the net and blah, blah, blah. But when he scored like the eventual header that actually took the team to 2-1, then I saw people were like, oh, he scores like the difficult goals, But that's what you expect, from a player that, that is a striker, that is tall, that is athletic. And funny enough, this morning I woke up and I checked my requests, on what some of the clubs are looking for. And surprisingly or interestingly enough, one of the clubs that he scored 2 goals against, I think the team Bradford, are actually looking for a striker who is athletic. You know what I mean? So that basically means other clubs have seen what not have done in the market, and they also want the same. So it's more like Alassana coming to a new country or into a new league where it opens up the doors for other internationals from other countries, or other internationals playing outside of England, so English clubs can actually go out there, go to Europe or anywhere in Europe and then be like, listen, we see this guy is doing very well. We believe and think if he comes to the League Two and if he comes to our club, he will be very well, he will do very well. And then eventually, who knows, turns out to be a success like Alassana.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned that they're opening the doors, and let's talk a little bit like Alassana's his career trajectory. And you said about opening the doors. He went to Estonia quite a young age. What was the story there? Obviously were you his agent back in Gambia, and did you take him to Estonia? And I know there's quite a few Estonian players there now. Gambian players in Estonia now. So was it Alassana that opened the door for other players?
Yes. I'll tell you something. Alassana actually opened the doors for every Gambian player in Estonia, and he even actually opened the doors of. Anyway, I don't know, but if you go online, you see Vivo also had some Gambian players that they invited even on trial, and that's because of him. um, like honestly speaking, Alassana was not actually supposed to be in Estonia, or he wasn't actually supposed to start in Estonia. What happened was before he went to Estonia, this particular club, Padelina Mescon, I've known the CEO for like I don't know 3 years earlier before this Alassana issue, and every time 3 years before, whenever I send him a message, oh, there's this player, that player is like not interested, not interested, not interested. Even with Alassana, not interested, and like fair play to him. I can understand why he's interested, because he gets a lot of that, from different agents, particularly in Africa or in South America or elsewhere, And even with Alassana, I actually told him about the boy. Boy was like, no, not interested. So I got a trial for him to go to Genoa in Italy. When he went to Italy, he did very well. He was actually good, like on a sign, but it was two of them, and one of the players actually he absconded on the day before they were gonna sign their contracts. And when he absconded, the academy manager of Genoa, just he was furious, and he was like, "Listen, we have to send the boy on," because he thought Alassana and that other boy connived together to just abscond. You understand what I mean? Anyway, he phoned, us in Gambia, and we were like, "Listen, if you believe that you want to be a football player, if you believe in yourself, and then you know that, okay, football is what you want to do, then come back home. You'll get another chance." He came back home, and the relevant president at the time, and who still is the current president, addressed him in front of everyone, like when the club had, the club had a team meeting, and in front of everyone. He was like, listen, this is a player or this is a boy that is respectful. I spoke highly of him and was like, he had the chance to just abscond and run away and just be in Europe to go and hustle. But he came back and he should be an example to each and every one of you. So he came back, played. His post game, he actually scored a goal which was really, really good. And that was the only clip or the only video highlight of him that I got, and I tried again, with clubs in Europe, and he was always not interested. So I spoke to a sporting director friend, in France. The club is actually in the fifth league. He wrote an invitation because I knew Alassane already had he already had a visa from Italy. So he applied again and he got the visa, went to France, and then the guy wanted him there. I'm like, listen, honestly speaking, I would appreciate, if you can sign him, but the thing is, I don't think he's for this level, he's too good for your level, So it created some tension, with me and the guy, and even now, we're not speaking terms, but I think it was a good decision. So I phoned up the CEO of Pide. I was like, listen, I know every time like I said, your players, you always say you're not interested, but this time around, I'm begging you. I'll pay for the ticket for the boy to come. I'll pay for the hotel. Just make sure he's there, and then just give him time, in training. Even if he's there for a week, then it's fine. If it's not good enough, then fine. Don't ever talk to me again. If it's good enough, then yeah, you can sign him. So basically, I paid for his ticket. He went over. Okay, so that clearly they paid the hotel and all the cost involved in making sure he's there, food and everything. The first session, the CEO put me up to say, listen, we want to sign him. I'm like, what, but why? It was like, he scored 4 goals in training. I'm like, yeah, but it's the first training. Give it, isn't it too early? He was like, no. I'm like, look, okay, you have a game in 2 days' time. Let him play the game and then see. So he played the game, and then they were like, listen, we're going to sign him up. He's a player and we want to extend his visa. So that's how literally everything happened. He went, and then they requested for another player, a right back who also went. So it was actually 2 Gambians that were there. And yeah, the season started and Alassana was all guns blazing, scoring week in, week out. Then there was an interest from Admiral Waka, from Austria. They were in the Austrian Bundesliga. Also from Porto, in Portugal. Anyway, those are the 2 clubs that I can remember. But Admiral Waka, obviously, were serious with the interest. We flew together, me and them, actually the sporting director, to Estonia. It was the sporting director and the general manager. Then on that particular game, I remember Alassana scored 5 goals. And after the game, we had a meeting, right there at the stadium with the Pide owner, the CEO, literally everyone. And Admiral were like, listen, want to buy him. I think at the time they offered 150,000, and it was gonna go up to 200,000. But I knew something was not right, not because of the Australian league is actually a very good league and everything, but I didn't feel that the boy was ready at the time to move to that league. Okay, he could have gone, made money, and I would have made money as a commission and everything. But I needed him to follow a career trajectory where from Estonia he can go to a next step, because within 6 months there's no way he could have how I say it he could have improved very well in Estonia, because I gave him 1 year. He was good in goal scoring, but I just felt he lacked a few things, which I'm sure you guys are seeing now. Actually, the technical bit and the whole of play, the link-up play, and everything. These were things he lacked when he first moved to Estonia. So I told Estonia that, listen, sorry, what? Is it possible to give me 1 second? Just 1 second. I'll be back if that's fine. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah. So basically, like I said, he yeah, so I didn't move to Austria, didn't happen. So I was like, listen, the Estonian club, of course, were not happy because it was a transfer that was good enough for them. But I was like, listen, let's just be patient and then see. So that was when the Viborg move came through. The sporting director Jesper, who is now CEO in Anderlecht, phoned up to say, listen, we see that this kid, doing very well in Estonia. Yeah, we want him. But I'm like, listen, there was a club that offered 200,000. Can you match that? He was like, no, we cannot. What can you offer? So they made an offer which was laughable, but at the time, when Alassana just moved to Estonia, a lot of people, even back in Gambia, didn't understand why I was sending players to Estonia. And in Denmark, the Estonian league isn't highly rated at the time. Okay, now of course it has some respect. But I was like, listen, yes, but there's a boy that has potential. He can come. He's very young. He can come do very well, and then you can sell for millions, tomorrow. And yeah, so it was back and forth. I think the negotiation lasted for a week, and then everything went so fast. At the time, Alassane didn't even know that he was gonna go to Denmark, because normally when negotiations happen, with regards to an interest, with regards to a club being interested in one of my players, I don't inform the players because I'm of the view that they should focus on doing their job on the pitch, and then the more they focus doing their job on the pitch, it actually makes my work a lot easier in the sense that you can actually negotiate good terms and good salary, for the player. So he was actually there doing his thing, scoring and everything. So the transfer was done, everything was negotiated, everything was done. Then after the game, I just phoned him to say, listen, when are you guys getting home? He was like, I think in about 2 hours, because we played away. I'm like, okay, when you go, please just park and everything. You're traveling to Denmark tonight. We're like, Denmark? I was like, yeah. Then he asked what team. I was like, Viborg. Okay, they're playing the second league in Denmark. But it's a club with good ambition. They want to go up. They have one striker. You're going to go compete with him, but you have a chance, basically. He didn't say anything. Then I was like, this is how much you're going to earn, because I knew how much he was earning. I knew how much he was earning in Estonia. This is how much you earn, which is 3 times better than in Estonia. So yeah, I was like, okay, no problem. So he went, and on the way, I sent him the flight tickets because the club booked everything. I sent him the flight tickets, sent him everything. And then I'm like, you have to go alone, unfortunately, because at the time I was traveling to Dubai or Qatar or somewhere. And then, yeah, anyway, the rest totally became history. When he was there in Viborg, honestly speaking, the sport director who signed him he's a very good guy, very good friend. He's now in Anderlecht in Belgium. He actually believed in him. He actually sees the potential, but it was just something with Viborg that just didn't work out, Alassana. And and this is not to blame Viborg or him, but it was just natural circumstances because he was there. Then COVID happened. Anyway, they got promoted, which was good. He won the title, and then COVID happened. Then his mother actually passed away, which actually which was actually where his struggles actually began, because that totally hit him hard, mentally and everything. And at the time, he couldn't travel, to Gambia because of the lockdown, and there were no flights, But thankfully, he recovered from it. Then injury struck, Then he worked signed 2 other strikers. Then from number one, he was down to fourth, in the ranking, but fair play to him. He actually worked to become number 3. He worked hard to become number 2, and then he was number 1. Then that was swapping of lack of roles. And yeah, then at one point his contract was running down, because his contract was supposed to run down in 2023, I think June. But before then, like I said, the sporting director still believed in him. He was like, listen, I like the player. I think he still has something. We want to extend the contract. But I'm like, listen, the player wants to leave, and I want him to leave as well. But the offers that were coming also, they were not offers that I thought it was good for him. At one point already, there was an offer from Lithuania. And he was going to make a lot of money, more than what he was getting in FIFA. But I told him, I don't think it's a step ahead. And there was one offer from Malta as well, which again, I just didn't think, like it was that. So I told him, listen, in as much as you've not been happy with Viborg and it's not worked out like we wanted, right now we can leave it out for the next 6 months and then you walk away for free. But Jesper has been good enough and been fair enough to say, listen, we want to show confidence in you by extending your contract. So for me personally, I think, okay, extend your contract for another year, and then let's see from there. Then you get your proper chance. And then he extended. When he extended, okay, things started to move forward. But then Jesper left the club and then took the job in Anderlecht. Then there was a new sporting director who's a very good guy, as well, Mats, very top guy. he actually knew Alassana from when he was Randers. And when he was Randers, he was actually surprised he wasn't playing much in Viborg. But again, it's one thing the sporting director liking you or the CEO or the owner or whosoever, but it's the decision of the coach to either play you or not to play you. And again, like I said, the reason why it's not worked out much in Viborg as well, because like they've changed a lot of coaches as well over time. Coaches that, okay, not the club sacking them, but it was more they got better opportunities somewhere and then they resigned and then left. So during his time in Viborg, he's had like, I think 5 or 6 coaches, more or less. So with every coach, it's a new start every time, until recently, yeah, his contract also was going to run down. And yeah, this opportunity came. But before this opportunity came, there was like a lot of opportunities that came. First, there was an offer from Sweden in the top league. Twice the club have actually come in with offers, but it was all rebuffed. Then then the chance from Christensen came. Before Christensen, there was another club in the Norwegian second tier with a very good coach, Bob Bradley. We spoke, everything was fine and everything, and the decision was that okay, Alassana was gonna go. But like I said, eventually as time moved on, things went by quick, and like I said, here we are today. And like again, he could have actually gone for more money. Not that Christensen were offering more money, but there was also an offer from Israel, where he was gonna make double what he's getting now in nuts, and even with with all the benefits that comes with it, But like I said, this move to nuts was his, and all I had to do was to support him.
Yeah, look, it sounds like it's been a journey for him. Obviously, what you've just described to us. So, how does it feel now that obviously this move was obviously I wouldn't brand it as a risk, but obviously given what obviously you just mentioned there with obviously offers of double elsewhere, so obviously taking this one at knots. How does it feel now to obviously not only see him like firing from literally whether it's left foot, right foot, header, he's pretty much doing everything at the minute. But not only that, like I sometimes lose count of how many Gambian flags we see it in these away ends and just stuff like that on obviously social media as well. There's a lot of love for him, and obviously that must help massively, not only with like his sort of confidence, but for him to like understand that this was probably like the match made in heaven, if you like.
Yeah, like I said, as a striker, all you expect to do is actually to bang in goals. It doesn't matter whether you go technically or like you go with the hollow play or you can brush off defenders or what. Naturally people expect that strikers should be able to bang in the goals. You know what I mean? Just like how people expect goalkeepers to be actually be able to make saves. Um, for me personally, of course, it's not something that I discussed with him, but for me personally, all I expected was he was going to go there and maybe get at least one goal, because the earlier you get that goal, you understand, the easier you get that coming off your back, more or less as a striker. Then you don't have to start thinking, oh, I've missed that chance. It could have gone in, it could have gone this, or whatever. So long as you score your first goal as a striker, the rest is always easy. So when he actually scored the goal, I was like, listen, like even if you like don't score again, for me the pressure is off, but like credit to him, he's like he's working hard, and again, like I said earlier, he still hasn't settled down in yet in Nottingham, like fully, So I think with a very, very good preseason, with the club come the end of the season and come July or whenever the preseason is, and by the start of the season, that's when I think you will see the real Alassana. And yeah, like hopefully he will be the guy or the striker that will bang in the goals, for Nuts to go up to League One.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. And final question from me. I don't know, Casey might have one after me, but final question from me is: can we expect to see more Gambians? That you've mentioned he's opened the doors. Can we expect to see more Gambians in England, but also maybe even at Notts?
Yeah, in like hopefully not, of course. Because again, I always tell people this. There is no top agent. People can have a different opinion like I do, but there is no quote unquote top agent or best agent or this. It's the player that can actually make you a very good agent. It's the player that can actually make you a top agent. If the player is not performing or doing whatever that he has to do, Of course, you as an agent, it's your role to actually get him moves, but you cannot get him a move like Notts County, for example. You understand what I mean? If the player now is doing very good and then banging the goals, then you get Notts County fighting off with Arsenal and United and all of this stuff. Then you have a barrage of choices, to make. You understand what I mean? So long as the player is performing and doing well, it opens up opportunities and it opens up doors, for you as an agent into the club. And I feel like Richard Montego is a very, very good guy, very nice guy. Same goes with with Joe and your secretary Jenny. Like very nice people, humble and everything. But I think Richard is a tough guy, and as head of recruitment, he knows his stuff. With regards to Gambian players, I've spoken to him about one player that I have. The player is actually going to play in the next 1 hour 30 minutes, a game I'll be watching. Yeah, like we've spoken, I've given him all the connections and all the details. Like we'll see. If it turns out to be a deal, then yeah, like so be it. If not as well, just be sure that with Alassana's success, hopefully, just like with Estonia or like with Viborg, you will be able to see more Gambian players, coming in, because the generation of Gambian players we have now, I'm sure possibly but for those of like for some of your viewers that may not know, Gambia now has focused more on youth players and developing talents. That's why now you can see a lot of our players actually moving. The first step is Scandinavia, but after Scandinavia, they're actually going to the top leagues like in Belgium, in like I said, Bianco Minte signed for Newcastle United. And even now, like 2 weeks ago when I actually spoke with you or the next, I think I was in Gambia with actually a Swedish club, and you wouldn't actually believe that they actually saw a talented 18-year-old kid in Gambia, and he's a player that they're actually willing to pay over 150,000 euros for, which I think just a little bit above 150,000 pounds, more or less. So like that gives you an idea of basically how Gambia is, or how the talent pool is. And again, like I said, I don't know if Richard is watching this, he should know that I'll be banging on his doors, like every month or every week, sort of to tell him, okay, that's this player for us, that's that player. Because I see and I know what positions, the club is looking for. And I hope, some of the players that will be coming in will be from me, but of course I trust him to do what is best, actually for the club.
Yeah, that's good to hear. It's good to hear, mate. And obviously you mentioned there that we might have another Gambian on the way, so hopefully we may be able to do this episode again in the future. But yeah, look, one more question from me, and that question is obviously, we've got a few games left of this season, but obviously Jatta will be here for the foreseeable. So a bit of I won't say too much of a light question, because obviously it's still a question that requires thinking, but if you could paint an ideal picture for Alassana Jatta in the next year and a half of Notts County, how would that look? And I don't just mean in terms of like promotion, etc. I was speaking more like total of goals, total of minutes, almost sort of total of played a months, just everything like that, if you know what I mean.
Honestly speaking, I see him banging in a lot of goals because, again, like I said, the perception some English football fans have of Scandinavian league or leagues in Europe that they don't actually watch is that, oh, they're shit, they're this, they're that. But far from it, it's very competitive and it's more tight and even more difficult to score goals in the Danish Superliga than in League Two. You understand what I mean? Or even in, like even England in general, like looking at the Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two. Because in England, the way how your football is played is you have, like, players have a lot of space, just by themselves. And you can see the first header that Alassana missed, he was actually all by himself. This is a chance that in Denmark, he wouldn't have gotten. You understand what I mean? He has to actually fight for it. So with how spacious English football is, particularly too, I see him banging a lot of goals. I see, okay, I look at the goal that like the player from Dons, the goal he scored from outside of the box, just out of the blue. So these are actually chances that, okay, a player like Alassana who has very good shooting qualities, if he has the ball and then he's outside of the box, he can just decide to say, okay, listen, you know what, let me just shoot and then it will go in. You know what I mean? So I cannot honestly tell you how many goals I think he was he will score this season, but I think with a very good preseason and looking at next season, I can actually guarantee minimum 15, 15 goals. And who knows if he banks in 15 goals, maybe my favorite club Arsenal will come knocking on the door.
Yeah, well, maybe one day, but hopefully we'll get promoted first before Arsenal take him off us. But it's been a real pleasure.
No, of course, like hopefully, sorry to cut you short. Of course, I'm looking at Alassana actually having a very good season with Notts County, having a very good few years, with Notts. Actually, why not even get promoted with the team to the championship? Now, okay, this season is it's possibly technically done and dusted with regard to promotion, but hopefully next season you can go up to League One, and hopefully as well, he can be there banging the goals for you to go up to the championship, and then from there anything is possible. He likes it in England, he likes it in Nottingham, he likes it in Notts County. I'm sure today, if the club came and say, listen, let's extend the contract for another 3 years or whatever, we'll jump on it, more or less. But it's a little bit too soon though for that. But I'm just saying that right now everything is, everything is it's falling, into the missing puzzles and into the missing pieces. And from here, it's just come on, new pies.
I love that. I love that. You've ended the episode for us, I think, and I will hand over to Casey to wrap us up. But as always, you mentioned before you came on that you're a viewer, you watch the show, and I want to say thank you to everyone that does watch as well. And hopefully you've all enjoyed this bonus episode. And like you said, come on, you pies, and I'll let Casey wrap up here.
Yeah, look, it's obviously been incredible to have our first guest on the podcast. It's obviously one that we've had in the pipeline for a while. But obviously we wanted to wait for a good time to do it, really, because obviously, now that he's got 5 goals in his bank, we thought this would be the perfect time to get it out. So we massively appreciate you coming on, Modou. And yeah, hopefully, you never know, another Gambian comes through the door and this won't be your last cameo on the podcast. So you just never know what's going to happen, mate. But until the next episode, guys, this old saying goes true. Come on, you pies.